that was a beautiful and complete illustration of the entire gamut of Indian classical sitar music that's possible in the world today. That should lead to comments and questions that you may have about the music itself, and then perhaps about the instrument. We do have 2 wonderful CDs of the Ustad Ji to give out to the first 2 questions from the audience. If you don't, I might walk away with them because I do have questions. So let me open it up to the floor and welcome you all. Yes? Let me rephrase it since I have the mic with me. The question was, how long did it take to master the sitar, or when they started? How young was he when he got started?
Yes.
Okay.
Your first question was, how long it take to master this instrument? The answer is forever. The second question is when I started. I started my musical journey when I was 3. In Indian classical music, whatever you learn, like if you want to learn tabla, sitar, sarod, anything, you must learn vocal music first. That is the tradition, and that is how it should be to learn classical music. So, my grandfather, Ustad Shahid Khan, he started me with vocal music. And at the same time, I learned tabla also. I started playing sitar at the age of 4. My father initiated me to music and sitar. So I started at the age of 4, and the first time I remember I performed when I was 7. So there is no time limit because it depends upon the person, his dedication, amount of hard work. So it may be 10 years, 5 years, 20 years. So.
Thank you. Yes, second question.
How many hours of riyaz did he do when he was a kid?
How many hours of riyaz did the Ustad Ji engage in when he was but a child?
Many times I have been asked this question, that how many hours? And if you ask other musicians, I have heard they say very easily 10 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours. I don't think that I have ever saw a watch while practicing. It is not about hours. It is about a target. You take something and just complete it, whatever time it takes. But the thing is that you have to dedicate yourself to music if you want to really become a professional musician. So definitely when I was a kid, my father told me to start with like 30 minutes. Then slowly he increased depending upon my talim and material I have got. Then it went to like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, maybe more sometime. but it depends upon person to person how fast he can pick up, how fast he can finish the work. So honestly, it is not a matter of hours, it is a matter of the target you take.
Yes, one more question.
Just to follow up on that question, do you have any advice for practice or rehearsal for your musicians?
Do you have any advice regarding practice and riyaz for other musicians?
Definitely, yes. First of all, you have to understand the meaning of practice. For example, if you are a vocalist or an instrumentalist, if you just sing and if you just play for 3 hours one day, next day no practice, then after 2-3 days you're sitting for 8 hours, that is not the practice. The first thing for the practice, what is necessary is discipline. What is discipline? If you want to practice just 1 hour every day, that is with discipline. If you don't have time for a whole week, but on the weekend you have more time, you're sitting for 8 hours, but during the whole week you don't have time, so you can't play. So that is not the practice. If discipline is not there with the practice, it is not a practice. So one should add discipline to the practice.
Did that answer your question? Was that all the advice you wanted regarding riyaz, or did you have more specific questions? Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned the necessity of vocal training as a sort of precursor to your instrumental training, or as a basis on which it rests. How long did you continue your vocal training? I assume it was interspersed, once after you started the instrument, you continued to learn voice. Did you do that for years and years and with other teachers, or how did this work?
Oh, I missed the whole thing. Can you repeat? Okay.
So you mentioned that your initial training was vocal music. How long did you continue with the vocal music, and how was that choice made to go from vocal to sitar? And did you continue with your vocal music after you started working with the sitar?
First of all, if you are an instrumentalist, you have to choose to be an instrumentalist. You cannot just be a vocalist at the same time instrumentalist. Vocal training is required because the vocal is the natural instrument, natural sound. So it should be like vocal music. No matter if you play like any instrument, it should sound like vocal music. It should not vary from the vocal. Because when you sing a rag in vocal music and instrumental music, it's not different. It is the same thing you are doing, same rag you are playing. And why vocal music is necessary? Because of the accent of music. Like our classical music accent is not like sa, re, ga, ma, pa, ta, ni, sa. It is sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. It's a little sliding also with the help of microphone notes. So the accent is very important. If you don't learn vocal music, I can just play a little bit and show you how it will be if you don't learn vocal music, and if you learn vocal music, how you can play. I'll show you that difference. one composition in vocal music. This is the composition, but you have to play it exactly like this, not like with cut notes. So, if you don't learn vocal, and it's just not the question of vocal music. This is how vocal music is. And this is how we should sing and play.
While you're thinking further about your next question, I have so many that I could ask this Ustadji. One of my questions was a follow-up on Irene's question. In the Western world, children are often started off playing on the piano, much more so than the violin, which is a continuous instrument. Whereas we in India are started off on vocal music. Why do you think there is this difference? What if I have students that come to me that have trained in the piano before? Do you see that also with teaching students in the United States? Oftentimes, do you get to work with them vocally? How do you deal with all the different influences they come up with?
Let me first explain you the difference between Indian classical music and any kind of music in the world. The similarity is two things. Similarities are two things, that all the music, including our Indian classical music, they have notes and rhythm. Now, the difference between Indian classical music and any other kind of music is that in Indian classical music we have notes and rhythm plus raga and tala. Any other music, they don't have any raga and tala. I'm coming to your point. So, to establish a raga, only notes are not important. Equally, the microtone notes, which we call shrutis, are also important. If you play piano, you can play notes, but you cannot play microtone notes. You will miss that because you are jumping from one note to another, and we are sliding from one note to another. That is why we should learn vocal music. And your other next question was, how do you train? We first try to teach them some vocal compositions so they get used to microtone notes. Unless you use microtone notes, a rag cannot be established. You must have seen that in vocal music or in instrumental music, generally we start with ala, and in vocal music they start with bada khayal, in which they start with ala also. Why is that? That is because unless you show the microtone notes, the rag is not established. And to show the microtone notes, it is necessary to play or sing at slowest possible speed. So that is why ala and bada khayal both are important to establish. I hope that answered the question.
So,
question is, Archana was at his concert at the Bridgman Auditorium yesterday, and she noticed that he did not have a tanpura providing Shruti reference, which she often sees when vocalists are performing. Is that a matter of personal choice? Are there other reasons for that, Ustad?
And also, how does he know that he's in that particular always?
Yesterday I had that on phone, but definitely I also performed so many times without tanpura. Your question is whether it is necessary or not. Yes, it is necessary, but you have to understand why it is necessary. It is not necessary for the audience. It is necessary for the performer, for the artist. For example, if an instrumental is playing and if it gets out of tune, so there should be something where he measures it. So that is what tanpura is there. I'll tell you my instrument, I use my instrument as a tanpura also. But even then tanpura is necessary. But the necessity of the tanpura is to be in tune. What if you have 3 tanpuras and you are not in tune? Then there is no use of tanpura. So the tanpura is very necessary to provide you the tonic. And I also use, sometimes I don't use also because I use my instrument as a tanpura. But definitely tanpura is necessary.
Surya in the back.
You did a very short alap for Sham Kalyan and it showed the nature of the entire raga. If you had more time, how does an alap presentation change based on the amount of time you have? What's your thinking in expanding alap based on the amount of time you have? What do you emphasize? If you had 20 minutes, okay, how would you approach the same raga?
So Surya's question is, depending on the time that you have in mind for the entire performance of that raga and the Bandish, how do you decide how much alap to play? And if you had, let's say, twice that time, what would you do differently with the alap?
I will not do anything differently. Only thing is that if time is short, my thoughts, my thinking, my emotion will be fit in that time. I'll shorten it. And if I have more time, I will do more improvisation. Like if I say something in one sentence, I can say the same thing in maybe 50 sentences. Like if I say, if you practice every day, you are going to progress. This is one sentence. How? Then if I have more time, I explain in detail. Similarly, the alap I did in Sham Kalyan, when we do it in a smaller time, we call it auchar. So this was auchar, meaning showing the raga, main phrases of the raga. But if we have time, we can just elaborate each phrase, so it can go up to 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
So in other words, if I may paraphrase, so the banyan tree of Sham Kalyan is going to have the same shape, but if he has 10 minutes to play, it's going to be a bonsai. Question there, Rajiv?
I want to follow up on Surya's question. How do you advise musicians to think about the scale of the music? So when you say that you would take your time leisurely and expand and go in deep, right? Clearly you have to have lived with the rag for a while to understand the possibilities, and you have to have some real knowledge of familiarity with the raga, right? And then you also have to think in terms of the music abstract, away from raga. So for people who are starting to develop and want to really develop that side of their musical imagination, what guidance would you provide to someone who wishes to even see the elephant, maybe not touch it like you do, but at least to, in your own mind, learn to see better?
So how do you learn to see the shape of the raga is in a nutshell the question, I think.
In music, there is a phrase called Dekhya, Sikhya, Parakhya. 3 stages. Dekhya means listening to music. Sikhya means learning. Parakhya means research. So, if you want to learn a rag, you should listen to the same rag of different artists. It will be the same rag but different. Whatever is the common is the rag, and whatever is different is his thought. So it's a very deep study to be able to elaborate a rag. It takes time. As I told you when I was talking to you, that the most important thing is music. It's more important than raga. First of all, you have to sit with your guru and learn how to do the improvisation, what we call badha, with the shape of the raga, without losing that flavor, without losing that grammar. And when it is completed, actually my own thinking is that nobody can teach music to anybody. We can just train them. Music is your own. You have listened so many things, and after that understanding what you think, what you play, what you sing is your music. Unless it is there, nobody will appreciate. If you play or sing like anybody, it will be a hobby. Just like if you have a $100 bill and take a Xerox copy, the value is 0. Similar. So it is a very long process, and I want to tell you about the good music. What is good music? How to judge good music? In any kind of art, there is a combination of 2 things: logic and emotion. Logic is very calculated, grammar, theory, calculation, imagination. Where it came, nobody knows. This combination should be there. The balance of imagination and logic. Then it is a good music. So what you have asked is a very long process. You have to learn, you have to practice, you have to take advice with your guru, and then you have to do yourself and do some research. Then it is possible.
Ustad, can I ask one question?
Yeah, definitely.
I teach a lot, and there are some students of tabla that are here that I teach. And one of the things I wanted to ask was, I want to see if I have this right. I think you just spoke about this, and I want you to please tell me if I'm wrong. There's 3 things that teachers can't teach: creativity, to be also, secondly, to be interested in something. We can't teach somebody to get interested, right? And then creativity, interest, and inspiration, to be inspired. Is this correct? We can only teach them to train, do this, do that, do this, but we can't teach them creativity or to be interested or to be
So
inspired.
Ravi's question for those of you in the back is, as a teacher of tabla himself, and there are students here in the audience, there are 3 things that he feels a teacher cannot teach or it can be taught. One is creativity, the other is interest, and the third is inspiration. So what does the Ustadji think about this?
You have three things. First was creativity. You cannot teach creativity, but you can teach how to be creative. You can definitely teach that. You can show them that is possible. Interest, you can definitely make them interested in music by your playing. Definitely. I think so. Inspiration. This question is a little difficult and you have to understand. One cannot be inspired by a teacher as far as music is concerned. One can only be inspired by a master. Because somebody is learning from somebody tabla and thinking that I want to play like Zakir Hussain. It is not going to happen. He is not going to inspire you. If a master can inspire you, a student, if he is learning with you, he should think that I want to play like this. That is inspiration. Definitely. You can get inspiration. That is how it happens. That's what I think.
Yes? So there are two questions from the gentleman. One is for a person that sings with the harmonium as such, how to get acquainted with the shrutis or the microphones. And the second question was actually for the tabla artist of the evening as to how he got interested and how he goes about practicing tabla. So I'll pass the first question on to Ustad.
Can you repeat the first question again, please?
For someone that practices singing with the harmonium, how can he get acquainted with the shrutis of the raga, the microtones?
Vocal practice is not possible with harmonium because it doesn't have microtones. If you really want to learn vocal music, you have to practice with tanpura. Generally, people they practice with harmonium who are the light classical singer or ghazal singer. That is possible. But even they have to learn classical music and they have to practice with tanpura. Doing vocal practice with harmonium is not good.
How did you get into tabla?
Just because it's so cool. And the way I play this thing. I mean, come on. No, I mean, I grew up playing Western classical music, and when I was given the option by my dad, who was very strict, to what instrument would I like to play, he told me I should not try to play a main instrument because he thought that it would be too difficult, being American and being from here, to try to play, right or wrong, that's just what he thought. And he encouraged me to play tabla. We listened to classical Indian music, Hindustani music when we were growing up, so I was very aware of it. And so it was in my opinion, it was a very smart choice by my father to encourage me to learn this instrument because that way I can accompany people and it's more accepted, I think. That was his idea. Secondly, I don't know how he had the foresight, but I like to accompany people. I like to play the teka and listen to the music against the beats. It's my favorite thing. So that's why.
I think I can answer his question why he chose tabla. Yes. because this is the only drum in the world which has got complete language. Take the mic. Na, ghe, dha, tette, tere kete, dha dha tere kete, dha dha tu na. This is the language. Exactly what you see, you can produce it. So this is the peculiar, this is the drum which has got language. This is the only drum in the world. That is why. Not many tabla players even know that. They know, but they don't, they can't explain this. But this is the reason I think so.
Yes, I would like to know how Indian classical music has evolved since you started.
Anu would like to know how Indian classical music itself has evolved since he started learning. Perhaps what changes the Ustadji has seen in the presentation or the format, or even how it's received by audiences.
Can I add to his question? Something else also, you could answer it all together. While playing in a concert, will your music be different than you practicing at home? Will your music be different?
Part B is, will the music be different depending on whether you're practicing at home or you're practicing in front of an audience, performing in front of an audience, which is like a practice as well. So, 2 questions.
I heard from my father and grandfather that the Indian music was known as a chamber music. And believe me, there was time when there were 5 musicians and 4 listeners. Listeners were less, musicians were more. It started like that. Now it has increased the number like 15,000, 20,000 people, like in Savai Gangan festival in Pune, when I play there, 15,000, 20,000 people are there. So that was the journey of music. And your second question was, when I practice and when I perform, is there any difference? In practice you don't produce music, you practice. There's nothing to do with the music. You are practicing. The music is something that when you finish your practice and start thinking, in concert we produce music, we don't practice. It's different.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Practice ki kriya kya hoti hai performance mein?
Practice meaning if you have some drawbacks, you are correcting that. Playing or singing one thing on and on. That is not music, that is exercise. You want to say something?
But Ustadji, do you have a separate thing which you perform in concerts? I mean, only the finest thing do you perform in concerts? Like, oh, I don't know how to frame it. Like, it's a bit complicated for me. It's myself.
Okay. Can I ask?
Let me finish this. Let me explain. I know what you are asking. Why you practice? It is a language. You do your practice of language. When your language is perfect, your technique is perfect, music is whatever thing you can produce. For that you practice. You are not practicing music. You are practicing that if you want to produce this, is there anything in the way? Just solve that problem. That is the practice. Producing music is different. Yes, you want to say something?
Yeah. When you approach a concert, when and how do you decide which raga to play in a
I don't
concert?
decide. This is called music of inspiration. You get inspired by the time, you get inspired by the people, you get inspired by the atmosphere, you get inspired by everything. So many times it happened that I had decided that I will play this rag today. And when I went there, I said, no, this is not the appropriate time. Maybe I play this one. So it is like that. But I'm talking of who have mastered everything. But there are some artists that they have limited ragas, they prepare it and they plan it and they sing or play. That is not the music. But the music is that it should be unplanned. Because our music is like that. We don't have any plans. The same rag, if you hear next time, it will be totally different.
You're touching on something that we've discovered at the university also that when we teach any subject, especially at the advanced level, where we are teaching either a graduate class, masters or PhD, this idea that riyaz is for mastering technique. You want to produce an effect, and you're getting the muscular control, or you're learning how to write the code to make the pixels on the screen appear, right? But I suspect that there's another thing that keeps going on in your head, which I think many of my colleagues who sort of do original research, who find their own place in the world of ideas will resonate to. And that is, you're always thinking about your music, aren't you? So the real riyaz is the thing that's going on in your head, not the thing you're doing physically. I suspect, and perhaps you can tell me if I'm wrong, that much of what you present as music is just the result of your subconsciously or consciously thinking about what you are doing as a musician all the time anyway, right?
After reaching some level, then the level comes that I don't have to think. Things come to me.
Wow.
They say, play like me, play me like this, just show me like this, use me like this. Believe me, I'm being honest. Before I used to think, plan, and play exactly what I wanted. But now I don't. Now the bandish says that, a composition says that, don't just touch me, up to me, go up to sound. It comes automatically. But after reaching that level, to reach that level, but we have to work hard, think, as you said, that I keep on thinking. When I play, I stop thinking. Maybe I don't, it stops automatically.
I have a follow-on question based on that same thing that I witnessed from close quarters yesterday at your concert. I know that in Ala we completely immerse ourselves into the raga. You had this fine balance between completely being immersed in a line and then being able to connect with the audience and making sure that they understood what you were doing. See how I touched the knee. Now see what else can I do with it. So that balance of being both inside yourself and the rag and then being able to connect with the audience, does it come naturally to you or did it click at some point?
It seems that as if I am doing all these things, but it is not true. If music is such, music does everything, connecting, and whatever is happening to be, is depend upon music. If the music, but the aim should not be to please the audience. Aim should be play for the sake of music. Then it can happen.
Another related question. So it's coming from within you when you are playing. Now, in that limited time, you can do Hala, Road, Hala, and connect everything together. And how do you fit in all that? I mean, it's all unplanned, but then there is, like you said,
question in a nutshell is, there is so much that you could do with the presentation of a raga and a bandish. How do you decide what you would do today? Hala, George, Hala, all of it, some of it, one bandish, two bandishes. How do you plan your presentation?
To be honest, I don't plan anything. Music guides me. If I am enjoying an ala, maybe I'll play out of 1 hour, I can play 50 minutes of ala, maybe 10 minutes of composition. Maybe sometime if I'm not enjoying that ala, maybe I'll switch to Jor ala, maybe I'll switch to composition. So I don't plan, music guides me to do that, as I told you before.
We have about 20 minutes, half an hour at most at this point. So I'm just going to issue the warning bell and sit down.
Well, I have two questions. One that I am conveying on behalf of a student that's not here. We heard Ustadji talk about how important and why vocal music is so important to learn and bring into the instrumental play. This vocal student was thinking that listening to instrumental music is giving her new dimensions in singing vocal music. For example, in her tarana singing, there's a lot she can learn from sitar and other instrumental music. Have you also seen that instrumental music can also help vocal gaiki very, very much?
Yes, of course. Because I don't think that instrumental music and vocal music is different. It's all same. Actually, it's very difficult to understand. Somebody asked me one question. I was playing duet with a very famous vocalist. So he asked me that while listening, why I felt that sitar is more vocal than vocal. And that is not my credit, I'm telling you. Because he said that the vocal, this instrument is made by God. And this is made by a man. How can this go ahead from vocal? So I replied that what happens if a God's instrument is played by a man, but a man's instrument played by God. So I'm not playing. He made me play. I'm being very honest. It's hard to play, but this is true.
And finally, in deference to time, I would also like to add, for many of you that may not know, that Ustadji runs an academy, SPK Academy in Arizona. I would like for him to take a few minutes to tell us about his experiences there, his goals and objectives with teaching from the academy.
My goal is to spread our Indian classical music. Because everybody knows that how rich is our culture. And the soul of our culture is our music. So first thing that I want to spread this music, and I'm really enjoying because I have some very dedicated students and I enjoy their teaching. They are learning, they are trying very hard, and some of them they have started performing also. And I look forward to for more students to join us, and I can serve them better.
Thank you so much, Ustadji. In the short amount of time minutes left. Would you have the preference to leave us with a little sweet musical offering so that we don't end on my chatter over here? So let's hold off on further questions later. Thank you.
I have one suggestion. If you can take 5 minutes to show this vinyas kala, which is to take the germ of an idea and then to just demonstrate how it becomes richer and more complex. Before you do that, it may be a good lesson for many of us even to listen, to understand what complexity actually means and what is the difference between a germ of a phrase, its expansion at various stages of musical maturity. Could you show that? Okay.
So do you mean adding layers of complexity?
Correct. So go back to first year, how you would give a germ of a phrase, let's say in Sham Kalyan, which is an old one, and then how you would teach a third-year student who has mastered it, a fifth-year student, how you would teach an advanced student. What would you expect to see from those students? And then, of course, in the end, I hope that you will show us what you see in it.